Hello, everybody. Um, this stream is gonna be like a video, so it won't be too long. It'll be at least 10 minutes. This is just gonna be me reviewing Hogwarts Legacy. However, I'm going to be reviewing a review on it since it's not out yet from like the public at least, but also because I want to buy it. I just don't have the money. Anyways, this is just my opinion, of course, on the game. And yeah, let's just jump right into it.
So Josh has been playing Hogwarts Legacy for us and reviewing it. And if you could review it in one sentence, if that is possible, what would you say?
Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy is an ambitious action RPG that maybe stretches itself too thin as it tries to, give you the experience of becoming a student at Hogwarts School for Witchcraft and Wizardry and, saving the wizarding world from an ancient evil.
Yeah. So
First off, that was a really long sentence. Anyways.
we could talk for hours about this game. There's so much. One of the things that you said in the review is like, if Avalanche can be accused of anything, it's that the studio has tried to do too much all at once. As a Harry Potter fan, I'd be like, that's great, but it's not necessarily the case, is it?
For me, while it pays a lot of sort of, fan service to the books, to the films, I think when I say it does too much all at once, it's not only does it have a complicated narrative arc with all of these sort of various elements, it's also a massive open world. It's a big RPG. It's an adventure story, and we haven't had that many sort of magic-based action RPG sort of games, at least on this sort of scale. And for Avalanche to sort of try so much all at once is quite daunting, and it isn't always successful in everything it's trying to do, but it does a good job.
So this guy's saying that it's trying too much at once, but it's still good. He doesn't explain what they're trying to do all at once. He says that they're trying to balance the open world with the story. I'm gonna go back and listen to what his explanation was again, because that made no sense to me.
With all of these sort of various elements, while it pays a lot of.
There's so much. One of the things that you said in the review is like, if Avalanche can be accused of anything, it's that the studio has tried to do too much all at once. As a Harry Potter fan, I'd be like, that's great, but it's not necessarily the case, is it?
Hey, what up?
What up?
Have you seen the Harry Potter Legacy trailers?
I have.
Okay. Do you want to watch this review with me?
Review? How long is it?
It's 9 minutes. We don't have to watch the whole
You can
thing.
put it on full blast.
All right. Sounds good. I'm reviewing the review on stream.
Oh, okay. You're doing it right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It won't be long though. So basically, here, listen to this guy's reasoning.
As a Harry Potter fan, I'd be like, that's
Oh,
great.
1 second.
It's like, if Avalanche can be accused of anything, it's that the studio has tried to do too much all at once. As a Harry Potter fan, I'd be like, that's great, but it's not necessarily the case, is it?
For me, while it pays a lot of sort of, fan service to the books, to the films, I think when I say it does too much all at once, it's not only does it have a complicated narrative arc with all of these sort of various elements, it's also a massive open world. It's a big RPG. It's an adventure story, and we haven't had that many sort of magic-based action RPG sort of games, at least on this sort of scale. And for Avalanche to sort of try so much all at once is quite daunting, and it isn't always successful in everything it's trying to do, but
So this guy's saying that there's too much going on there's too much going on all at once, but he isn't saying what is going on all at once. Like he's just saying there's too much going on all at once.
Isn't that the whole experience though? You're supposed to be overwhelmed as your first time as a wizard.
Right, exactly. You're supposed to like explore because he said it's a action RPG open world,
Yeah.
and that's too much. Like yeah, exactly. You're supposed to explore the world.
Story base, he can go read Harry Potter.
Yeah, and he even said that they embodied the books in the
Exactly.
in the
You're
thing.
exploring
So
the world rather than the story. More
Right.
per se.
and so once you explore the world, then you can be less overwhelmed and get into the
I
story.
think that's the whole point of a game.
Right, it's like Red Dead. Like you can go everywhere on the map even before you start the first, well, not first chapter, but
But yeah.
you don't even have to do any of the story. You can just go anywhere on the map you want right away.
And I think that adds that dynamic to it.
Right, it gives you like the freedom to do literally whatever you want. So, I don't know. That's my personal read on this guy's review right now. It doesn't seem like he's making much sense.
You know, it does a good job broadly, I think.
He just said it does a good job. So, I don't know what this guy's talking about.
So for a game where you play a student, how much homework do you have? How many classes do you have to go to? And what's it like taking the hours?
Okay, so there are classes you can attend: charms, defense against the dark arts, herbology. You know, all of the classes. The main set.
What the fudge? They put ads on this thing? Whatever.
I say we steal the ring.
This man.
I say we steal the ring.
I want you to help me take my revenge.
He's learning to be human again.
What the
You know, 40's the new 20.
fuck? Steve Carell.
Classes that a fifth year would be expected to take, but they're kind of, you don't really get to, you know, sit and actually participate in the lessons all that much. They're kind of these really well rendered, well scripted cutscenes that kind of just you get at certain points in the story. They teach you a spell. They give, you know, a teacher might give you an assignment, and then you go out into the open world and complete it. But it's not, you can't really just go and attend classes.
Sounds like the perfect way to go to school. Like you don't have.
Yeah. This guy's complaining about the classes are too short. Like, bro, would you rather sit through a 30-minute
Right.
Hogwarts class? Like, I mean, I guess it's cool because it's magic, but once you do like 4 or 5 of them, you're gonna get
Like,
bored.
Yeah, I don't feel like sitting through this.
Right.
It's a drag out.
So maybe if they put a skippable cutscene, maybe, but I don't know. That's like a minor problem, I'd say. Whatever.
You have to go to the classes you don't want to, and the ones that you do go to are cutscenes where they just give you the ability. From reading your review as well, Hogwarts itself, the building, the grounds, and everything around it, seems like a character in and of itself.
Yeah, it's an absolutely stunning recreation.
Oh my
Hogwarts.
gosh.
It's this really, like, Hogwarts, you can just spend hours
That
walking
is
around
so
it.
cool.
Like,
Oh my
just,
gosh.
you know, there's apparitions moving through. Peeves is there causing mischief. Like, the halls aren't packed with students, but the ones that are there are often, you know, being shouted at by howler letters or like messing around with magic. And it is an absolute. It's the best part of the game. Like, it's a stunning, really, really good recreation of that world.
So it seems like they've stuck religiously to some parts of the world in the universe, and then
Whoa.
willfully ignored other parts when it suited them.
Yeah, so it's actually one of the, for like big Harry Potter fans, this is like one of the biggest problems with the game, is that it doesn't really establish which rules of the wizarding world are like in place. So, you know, there are talent trees in the game. One of them's for the sort of mastering the dark arts. Now, as a 5th year student who's hoping to sort of earn prefect status by the end of that 5th year, you know, my natural inclination was to not touch that side of the game, when the reality of it is, it doesn't really care. And, you know, it's the same with other aspects, like, there's no curfew at Hogwarts, except for when it's time for a stealth mission, you know.
Oh no!
Yeah, like,
Okay,
it
while
basically
this...
uses
Oh,
the
okay.
rules when it wants to and discards them when it needs to.
So when we first
okay, that's fair enough. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say something about the time period, but I guess, yeah, that makes sense that it... Yeah.
started seeing the footage of this game, with we knew the killing curse was going to be in there. What kind of blowback is there if you use a killing curse, or you kill somebody who would do something like, you're going to get detention?
Yeah, so there are 26 spells in the game, 3 of which are the unforgivables, and you don't have to learn these, like they're optional to learn.
Okay.
However, there is no real consequence for using any of them. If anything, they kind of make combat more diverse. But, you know, for things that should get you thrown
Into Azkaban.
towards, at the very least, out of Hogwarts, if not into Azkaban, the game just doesn't.
So you can be there being a prefect, being like, am I gonna go?
It just,
Huh.
the game doesn't register it really at all. I mean, it's a shame. I think, for me, the better option would have been just to not have that stuff in the game if it's not going to reckon with the consequences.
So is he saying against enemies that there's no consequences, or is there consequences against using them to other students? Or maybe you can't attack other students? Because, like, I don't
I
understand
don't think you can attack other students unless it's in a dueling aspect.
for sure. It's just it's the way he phrased it, it sounded like you could only, or you didn't get consequences when you used the dark spells
You
in combat, which
Which doesn't make sense to me, but I also don't know how they would have incorporated that.
right,
Like the Avada Kedavra, you have to be late game, I'm pretty sure, to be able to use it.
Yeah.
By that time, yeah, there's no like downside to it,
Mhm.
so it kind of makes a quick shortcut through the game. But you can choose to use it or not.
right, and then like
It's all about personal choice.
yeah, and if they did, maybe I mean, if they made like an honor system.
I would have preferred an honor system. kind of
Right.
like Red Dead.
Yeah, like a Red Dead honor system where when you use the Avada Kedavra, because if they
Or any of the
implemented,
other curses.
right, yeah, if you implemented that if you use one of the dark curses, you get kicked out of school, then what do you do then? You're expelled from Hogwarts. You can't finish the game, unless they made that into the story, I guess. But I don't know if they made a severe consequence to it, then there's not much that you could do about it. However, I think they should have made some minor consequence for using the unforgivable curses.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So what I was most interested in is how is the combat? Because it's not easy to do.
No. Magic-based combat is never easy to do. You know, few games have really invested in those sorts of systems, and I think Avalanche's done a pretty good job with it. Like,
Okay.
wielding spells is really fun, particularly when you get sort of towards the middle to latter end of the game, where you've got like a big, you know, library of spells in your arsenal.
Ones that
Whoa.
you like and ones that work well together.
Exactly, and especially like the combat spaces are like packed with enemies, and it is super fun to like juggle different spells and juggle different enemies, and you've got, you know, you're surrounded and you're sort of flicking off different abilities and seeing how that impacts enemies, and they sort of all start to combine, all the spells combine and merge in really interesting ways. And for me, like, it is a combat heavy game, and it can be quite challenging actually, which surprised me. But it's the best part. Like, the combat is the most well executed part of the game.
Wow.
That looks so cool.
How do you level?
I hope he talks about if there's like some sort of I hope that he talks about if there's a mana system or not, because it seems like you can just play or spend any amount of spells without any slowdown or anything, or recharge or
Combat
anything.
is the most well executed part of the game.
Wow. So, how do you level up then? Do you get
Oh,
better
okay,
ones?
level
Do you
up, okay.
pass tests in the school?
Yeah, so if combat's sort of the strongest part, like this RPG economy aspect of the game is the weakest by far. So rather than your level being tied to sort of your growing proficiency as a magician, it is instead tied to the gear you find. So, you know, offensive and defensive capabilities are tied to the stats you find on different scarves, hats, and cloaks.
Oh, so it's like Breath of
Thankfully,
the
most
Wild.
of these look like absolutely ridiculous, but thankfully you're free to transmog the clothes that you have. It doesn't matter if you destroy them or sell them, you can still always
Oh, that's
whatever
cool.
you have to whatever you're wearing. But
Thank God.
it is a bit hollow, like this idea that you get more powerful as the clothes become better. It just doesn't really quite work within the fantasy that Hogwarts Legacy is tapping into.
Oh well. So Avalanche Software have made a really inclusive and diverse game here.
Yeah, that was the sense I got. Like, one thing I really appreciated was just the different characters you meet are from different, they offer a different perspective. Like you get professors from, wizarding schools from abroad. You know, meet characters who, there's a Onimus who's one of the sort of one of the companions you get to spend time with is blind and is sort of led around the school via his wand, which is something that we've not really seen before in that world. And it's just a really nice different mix of perspectives. And for me, it sort of better reflected the community that's sort of built around Harry Potter in the last 25 years, 26 years. And it's a small part of the game, but it felt important. I'm glad that they put the sort of energy into sort of reflecting that through Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah. So with all that being said and done, what score did you give it?
While the game is fun,
Oh man.
the sort of recreation of some of the most iconic locations in Harry Potter, Hogsmeade, Hogwarts itself is absolutely fantastic, and it is a real delight to spend time in those places. Sadly, the game doesn't quite get it right with everything that it's trying to do. So, the open world gets a bit bloated, the challenges become a bit messy and cumbersome, and the story doesn't quite have the narrative depth to sort of support the weight of Lumen's different tendrils. However, over the 35 or so hours I spent playing that game through, I did have a fun time, and I think it's a great first try at the world, and I do hope that Avalanche sort of goes back and sands down some of those rough edges and maybe refines its concepts and priorities a little bit for a sequel, because I think they could be onto something.
Yeah. All of the things that you mentioned are definitely things that could be worked upon. I think the thing that I was most worried about was the combat, and the fact that they seem to have nailed that. It's like, right, that's done. Tweak the other bits, which are just little few other. I'm really interested. I'm glad it's so good and it's so much fun. If you're playing it and you're enjoying it now and you need some guides, we're gonna have some guides going up on the YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that.
Maybe they could team up with EA and make an online system and make a whole bunch of updates or whatever, so to expand the world and give different stories. I think that would be pretty cool. Alright, well that was my look at Hogwarts Legacy.